Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here Tuesday, August 19th. As promised, we are taking a deeper look at the Jacksonville Jaguars' offensive performance against the New Orleans Saints this past weekend. We will go through the first two drives in depth with Trevor Lawrence and the starters out there, and then kind of just have some takeaways from the rest of the game as well. So really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I am wearing right now. Help support the channel further. Look good while doing it. Really appreciate y'all. So first drive for the Jaguars. They got the ball to start the game. On play number 1, you had motion at the snap. Do I need to talk about it? Motion at the snap every single play. I mean, it pretty much is happening, as I mentioned, every single play. Motion at the snap, pre-snap motion. You do it for so many different reasons. We've talked about it ad nauseum here this offseason, but you can do it to get the man versus zone coverage tell. You can do it to utilize it as misdirection. You can do it to get numbers in the running game. You can do it to create kind of stacks and bunch formations that make it difficult for opposing defenses to cover all the receivers. You can do it to get free releases. It's just, the list goes on. And Liam Cohen is certainly a offensive play caller and designer that is going to utilize that. I think you might see more motion with the Jaguars this year than you did with the Buccaneers last year. And the Buccaneers utilized it at a very high clip. So I'm excited for that. On play number 1, again, you had motion at the snap. You had Strange kind of switching the numbers going across the field. A decent little run for Tank Bigsby. Nothing special, nothing to write home about. But also keeping you on schedule, getting a few yards, 3 yards on first down. Then you had a big-time play-action shot against a 2-deep zone. You had the drop by Brian Thomas Jr. Was it a perfect throw by Trevor? No. Was it absolutely a drop by Brian Thomas Jr.? Yes. The quarterback is not tasked with throwing a perfect pass every play. To me, that was like a B- effort by Trevor. A very, very poor effort by Brian Thomas Jr. You got to catch that football. Am I worried about Brian Thomas Jr. and the drops right now? No, I'm not. This is a guy that throughout his time at LSU, a lot of folks talked about how his practices weren't very impressive. Look what he did when he got a ton of reps during his final year at LSU. He absolutely dominated. Last year, practices not very impressive. Look what he does in the regular season. This year, same thing. I'm not worried about it until it's a problem. It's not a problem right now. So you have the drop. Okay. Now you have third down. You have motion, of course. They show zone coverage. You have crossing patterns that don't get open. Hainsey kind of got bullied on the play. And so Lawrence is dealing with pressure pretty quickly. But Strange sells an out route, whips it back inside, and Lawrence is able to get through his progressions, avoid the pressure. There was a guy right in his face when Hainsey got beat. Avoid the pressure, step to his left, step up in the pocket, deliver to Britton Strange on the move. That was awesome. It really was cool to see. I absolutely loved that play on a third down. Motion on the next play to get blocking numbers on a toss to Tank Bigsby. It was a solid run, nothing crazy, but you motioned Strange over to get numbers in your favor on the left side of the offensive field. So again, you're seeing the different utilizations of motion. On the next drop back, you have Strange in motion again. He was moving all over the place. This one felt a little wonky. I felt like the timing was off. You had a tight end and a back going out to where on the right side of the field where Lawrence could have dumped it off, and then the back has a blocker in front of him. And then on the offensive left side, you have a one-on-one with Brian Thomas Jr. It looked like he wanted to hit Brian Thomas Jr. early, but then it wasn't open. Tried to move off of it, worked through his progressions, didn't see anything, ended up evading the pocket, coming back to Brian Thomas Jr., and getting a first down. So I thought that overall, very good blocking on that play. Just a little wonky, probably something that they talked about, tried to figure out how to make sure that that is a little bit better execution next time. But it still worked out very nicely for the Jaguars offense. Next play, Lawrence worked through his progression again to find Brenton Strange. Good base, accurate football, nice gain. Then you had a sweep to Brian Thomas Jr. for a little gain as well. Good to see Brian Thomas Jr. getting involved in the jet sweep game. And that actually was a play that they faked a sweep to Brian Thomas Jr. later on. So kind of the play sequencing and the ability to show one thing, get a defense used to that, and then flip it on its head later on. Always a good thing, and something you'll see a lot in Liam Cohen's offense. Then you had Tank Bigsby motioning into the backfield, had a screen, and it was a really nice design on the screen because only two of the offensive linemen behaved as they were going to be screening. The rest of the offensive line kind of stayed in your normal pass pro, so it wasn't as clear as it normally is to the defense that this was going to be a screen, but it was well executed. Tank Bigsby made several guys miss in space, picked up like 20-plus yards. Really good play by Tank. Obviously, he needs to show that he can catch the football, to be in on passing downs, to be in on screen-type plays. He did a good job there. Very good stuff. And then on the next play, you have Cleveland getting Trevor's foot and turnover. Trevor Lawrence has to not fumble the ball. Ezra Cleveland has to not step on his foot. That type of play probably won't happen again all year. But the issue here is this is the type of play that can cost you a football game. And they're going to work the kinks out. And that, again, Trevor Lawrence's foot probably not going to get stepped on by Ezra Cleveland again this year. But it's these types of issues, not this specific issue, but issues where you just have a mental mistake, an unforced error, whatever it is, and it costs the team. Preseason, don't want to overreact, but this is a team that you've seen a lot of mental errors. And I'm not saying Trevor had a mental error. That was more on Cleveland, in my opinion. But it's something you can't have. It's something you got to work out. Drops, you can't have them. These types of plays, can't have them. Passes that get dropped and pop up to be intercepted. Right, like these are the types of plays that have plagued the Jaguars for a long time that you want to try to avoid. Overall, very good first drive. Finished just as bad as it possibly can, outside of like them returning it for a touchdown. Second drive, again, you have more motion to start, and then you had a nice play action shot progressing. Play action to Travis Etienne. Nobody picks up Etienne out of the backfield, and he's wide open. Lawrence quickly hits him for like 8 yards. Then you had that motion fake jet sweep to Brian Thomas Jr. Brenton Strange pulled into the interior of the line. Etienne got a chunk play, broke 2 tackles. Was really good to see that. I know people want to write him off or write Bigsby off and just get the rookies out there, and I think that Bajal Tutin is their best back, but I think having all 4 of these guys available to utilize with Bigsby, with Etienne, with Tutin, and LeQuint Allen is going to be the best outcome for the Jaguars this year. We'll see if any moves are made. You had a front side dig concept complete to Parker Washington. Lawrence did good getting it out quick because Fred Johnson got cooked on the interior. Not on the interior, but on an inside move. Up next, you had a short, easy completion to Brian Thomas Jr. So it was good to see Brian Thomas Jr. recover from the early drop and make plays for his quarterback. So that's obviously an encouraging sign. Lawrence canned the next play at the line, which is like their kill. We're going to change the play. Patrick McCary messed up his assignment. Wrote down a different word in my notes, but Patrick McCary messed up his assignment. Otherwise, I think that Bigsby could have picked up a few more yards on that run, but it was good to see, again, talking about players bouncing back on the very next play. Patrick McCary buried the opposing defensive lineman, and Fred Johnson got to the second level. Etienne ran straight through the C gap there for a very nice gain. I think Etienne wanted to score a touchdown, but it was a nice gain nonetheless. And then on the next play, Lawrence does a good job getting rid of it quickly. Because Strange got beat one-on-one. It was, Lawrence trying to give BT a little opportunity in the back of the end zone, but really just getting rid of the football in a bad situation. Obviously, Strange getting matched up with a defensive end one-on-one is not going to be like your ideal recipe for success. You'd like him to do a little bit better job than he did, but at the same time, that's not going to be typically what you want to see. And then the final play for the Jaguars starting offense, Parker Washington, touchdown. You have Strange coming through to clear out some space, and then Parker Washington coming in to sit right behind it. This is something you see utilized in Liam Cohen's offense a lot, where you have one player running through a zone, kind of clearing out some space, the other player coming in right behind where the initial player was, and the space is vacated a little bit by the defense, and you have good timing. Lawrence gets the ball to Parker Washington. Parker Washington makes a guy miss, finds the end zone. Great end to what was really a good day for the Jaguars starting offense, marred by one really unfortunate mistake. I mean, the Jags starting offense should have put up 14 points easily. They were moving the ball up and down the field with ease. They just had one big mistake, and one big mistake can lose you a game in the NFL. In this situation, it didn't lose them the game, but had they gone up 14-0, they probably don't end up in a situation where they tie the game. In the end, again, you don't want to harp too much on the results of a preseason game, but these are the types of things that you want to work out the kinks before you get into the regular season. Overall, very, very good performance by Trevor Lawrence in this offense, but can't have that crucial mistake. I love the way Liam Cohen's dialing it up. I love the way he's improving the run game, it feels like. Now, what you do have to say is this was against backups, and it was against backups against the Steelers in week 1 as well. But the Jags didn't have their full complement either. Like, no Travis Hunter out there, no Anton. So you can't control your opponent. You can control how you handle your opponent. And the Jaguars have handled the opponents that they've been put up against offensively well, very well overall, besides a mistake or two here or there that you want to continue to clean up. Last week, it was more about penalties pre-snap and post-snap a little bit. This week, it was just one big mistake. One game-changing mistake. Good stuff. Continue to eliminate unforced errors, and you'll be in a good spot. They are still very new in this offense. It is all very new. So they don't have a game tomorrow, a regular season game. They do not have one until, early September. So it's getting there. A couple week and a half, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks away, right? But they don't have to be at 100% right now. And Liam Cohen's talked about that. He wants to peak when it matters, not right now. So I think that this is also, even though you've seen a lot of refreshing things from a play calling and schematic standpoint from Liam Cohen, they have not even gotten close to showing like the full smorgasbord of what they've got in store for the regular season. So that's exciting. Nick Mullins, very meh for me. I will give him credit for the threading the needle throw to Hunter Long. But on third down, he didn't give Dorian Singer a chance on his first drive. That's a pass that if it was better coverage could have been intercepted. He did throw an interception to a linebacker later in the game. I give him credit for the last drive of the first half. He was really moving the ball down the field and executing and all that. But he just always seems to have some really head-scratching decisions at some point. And he does not have the strongest arm. He's not the biggest, most athletic guy. Obviously, a lot of backups aren't going to be those things, but I still remain very much unimpressed overall. Very impressed, however, though, by Bashal Tutin and Lee Quint Allen, both doing a good job in this game. Bashal Tutin got his second touchdown of the preseason. He also had another play where he kept those legs churning, kept moving forward long enough for more Jaguars offensive players to get behind him and help push him forward a little bit. I love seeing that type of stuff. I feel like you never saw that with the previous regime, so that's cool. Lee Quint Allen had a bunch of catches, some nice runs, had a beautiful hurdle. He did fall one time in the open field, but other than that, he had a really good game overall. I feel like the guys competing for the back end of the roster at wide receiver, which I had penciled in Cephas as wide receiver 5. I don't know that that's really the case at this point, but the guys, Austin Trammell, Trenton Irwin, and Joshua Cephas, they all did a good job in this game overall, made plays. One thing that Liam Cohen has tasked the wide receiver group as a whole with is now taking it personally when it comes to the run game and the screen game, making sure they're executing their assignments, because that's the next level for the run game. They feel like they've got the offensive line doing a good job in the run game. Now it's time for the receivers to really take it to the next level, become really good blockers, because if they can do that, this can be a really good run game potentially. The reason I brought it up with Trammell and Irwin is Irwin had an opportunity to block for Trammell, did not get the job done, and the DB made a play in the backfield. But overall, as receivers, those three, Trammell, Irwin, Cephas, continued to do a good job and make plays, and I think those are the guys fighting for the bottom of the roster at receiver. Wyatt Milam did get hurt. He's week to week, unfortunately, but Monheim, the way he's played is what gave the Jaguars the confidence to trade Luke Fortner, which is good. Obviously, I think he had like one missed assignment, but he made some really nice plays in this one. Jonah Monheim did in the run game and in pass protection. So he's progressing nicely. I feel like John Wolford, back to the quarterbacks, not doing very good. There was one play where I initially thought he kind of threw a turnover-worthy play, but Cam Camper fell on the route, so it wasn't really his fault. But still, even getting rid of that, I just don't think Wolford did a whole lot to impress you very much. He's athletic. He can scoot around and make some plays with his legs and evade the pocket and do all that stuff, but I don't think he was very impressive. And then Seth Hennigan didn't really get a chance. They put him in an insane situation. He threw one amazing throw down the field. You're tied 17-17. All you need to do is get in Cam Little's range, which is like around 70 yards. And Hennigan threads the needle, like wizardry, down the field to Quentin Morris. And these kind of like your late game preseason, duo that's really getting the job done. But it wasn't enough, because on the next play, instead of running the ball or kneeling the ball under center, they were on the Saints' 42-yard line, which means you are well within Cam Little's field goal range. Instead of kneeling the ball from under center, which would have lost you like 1 yard, and you still would have been well within Cam Little's range, or running the ball and calling a timeout, you threw the ball. I don't understand why they threw the ball. And again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, they wanted to see what Hennigan would do in the situation, how he would perform. If you want to be situational masters, if you have a kicker, and I bring up situational masters because that's what we've been talking about. That's what James Gladstone's been talking about. You are more than within Cam Little's field goal range. Your best option is to get Cam Little on the field from where you are, right where you are. If you want to try to get a little bit more, run the ball. If you're not worried about getting more and you just want to get to that like 2-3 seconds left on the clock and get to that field goal, kneel it, timeout, field goal. Walk away with a W in all likelihood, because Cam Little, he's money from that range. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.